Welcome to Zoom In, Zoom Out, your global look at news in Taiwan. I'm Leslie Liao. Basketball is one of Taiwan's most popular sports. There are multiple leagues and about a dozen teams. And big names in the game like Dwight Howard and Jeremy Lin have come to the country to play. But how did Taiwan's basketball scene get here and where is it headed? Well, to find out more, I went to a basketball training camp hosted by NBA trainer Mike Atkinson. Mike is a world-renowned trainer who's worked with stars like Joel Embiid and Klay Thompson. We started out by zooming in on why he's in Taiwan and why he decided to make this place a place for his basketball training camp.
Yeah, so basically we've been invited by the Chinese Taipei Basketball Association. We did our first ever skills certification on the island of Taiwan, right? So it's the first ever actual certification where coaches can take a course and be educated on the foundations of player development and skill work. I'm also working on a program for more of a master's coaches that want to work at a higher level and have more interaction with me personally. And why this is so impactful is we're creating a next generation of coaches and trainers, and that's the leadership that's going to come down into the communities and into the young athletes and help our development. And that's the overall mission statement, and that's why I actually coach every day, is just to help everyone develop and reach their goals.
And what kind of students are you getting? How old are they? What's their interest level? Do they want to be players? Do they want to be coaches more?
You know, one of the reasons that I can always identify anywhere I travel is passion is a very universal language. And when I come to Taiwan, the passion for basketball is there. So immediately, we don't have to speak the same language. We're in the gym. We all know we're sharing that passion. And that is really what's triggering, I believe, these young coaches wanting to push the game. Now, maybe I don't look like an NBA player, but I can still train NBA players possibly, right? Maybe I don't have those physical gifts, but maybe I can make an impact on a local player and they can become an MVP. I think that is something that's inspiring these younger people, and they value education in this community and they really prioritize that. So it's a good match. So if we can educate them and empower them to become more leaders, that's my goal, and I would have done my job.
What's there to be said about the younger generation? Are they hungry for it?
These younger guys that are in my class, these 19-year-olds even, I have college players who are actually taking my course, learning to be coaches. And so they're learning multiple perspectives as a 19-year-old college basketball player. All of a sudden now they're educated, they're gonna go back to their teams and become leaders and maybe also educate their coaches. And now we're working as a team. So I always say the best coaches are the best teammates. And so these 19-year-old, 20-year-olds are getting this message. It's not ego-driven. I train, here's my resume. This is for you in front of me. I'm only as good as the person in front of me. That's the presence. And if I can teach 18 and 19-year-olds to stay in that moment and build rapport, the world's gonna be a better place. And that's the ultimate goal. This is a game. But if we can make this world a better place with the ball, that's magic. And I think we can do that.
You were extensively in the G League, so you could see the barrier between, the developmental player into the Hall of Famer. Now, here's my question to you, and I'm very interested myself.
Yeah.
Where does Taiwanese players fit in that? And, what's it going to take for a Taiwanese player to make it into the NBA?
Right. So the way I'm looking at the Taiwanese players, obviously Jeremy Lin was born in America and made it to the NBA at the highest level, okay? And for me, that's the first inspiration, right? We need to draw on that inspiration that someone that looks like myself has made it at the highest levels, because I think at this point in time, mostly every culture has been represented in the NBA pretty well. There's a lot of diversity. And building off of that, I think we need to put the Taiwanese players in an advantage to compete first regionally with the other countries. And we need to identify their strengths and weaknesses to help identify where they're going to establish their own brand and style. And I think that's what's going to differentiate the Taiwanese players. They can't do it like another country. They need to do it like Taiwan. And so I'm here to just give them a foundation that they can create their own creativity on.
Is there anything that sticks out that Taiwanese players are particularly good at?
Well, honestly, the savvy. When I watch my guys play from Taiwan versus when I train, I'm always looking for their natural expressions. And then when I watch them play in competition, they get it. They get basketball. It's totally natural for them. They play. They grew up playing in the culture. I can tell. One thing about a basketball player, you can tell another basketball player right away by the way we walk, our mannerisms, all these kind of things. And that is actually universal. A lot of times when they come and visit me, their defenses are up, and I have to break those defense mechanisms because they're in New York City, they're on jet lag. I tell them not to look at the NBA superstars too much if they're in the gym together, and I try to create this discipline. But that's a big part of it, is just getting that exposure.
On the flip side of the coin, what are some of the challenges that the Taiwanese players face? Is there anything mental, physical? Is it
Yeah.
offensive, defensive that they need to get over?
You know, the number one question I receive when I'm coaching and meeting people is not, how do I do this skill better? This is going across the board, player, coach, ownership. How do we control fear and self-doubt? And that seems to be the trend and the current trend of the issues for our athletes is they're dealing with self-doubt and fear. And so we need to give them the tools. We don't need to just say, hey, you shoot a lot of shots, don't have doubt. We worked on that last night. No, that doesn't work. We need to identify and figure out what is going on in their emotional state and help them get a resource and create tools to choose again. And it's not fair to give an athlete advice without a tool. So that's part of what our program is encouraging, is we're creating the tools to help people drop down those limiting beliefs. And so fear and anxiety, we can choose again. And that's the goal.
How do you get these guys to get over that kind of fear when every day the superstars are being scrutinized on Sports Center about like, oh, so and so didn't take the last shot, the fourth quarter they got to have the ball. That's got to sow even more doubt. So you as a trainer, how do you help them get over that such scrutiny?
Yeah, so I mean, depends on the person. Everyone's unique. I remember this quote, I treat everyone the same, I treat them differently. Okay, but the core philosophy is going to be finding what they're believing in that moment and getting them to understand it's their choice to make it true or not. And once I can get them to do that, now they're in power and they're in aware witness, and that's the strongest place. Now, if we're discussing media, most of my clients are mature enough at this point in their careers where they understand that they're going to deal with media, and it's their choice if they want to take acknowledgement or not, and they can handle it. Okay, but the younger athletes, we do need to help guide them and understand maybe you don't go on social media tonight. It's not going to be best for your personal health. And if they do get triggered, let's make sure they have tools that aren't outside and unhealthy. We need to give them some tools. It's not fair to just say, feel better. That's not going to work for anyone.
You're obviously trying to cultivate a lot of the potential that you see, and you see a lot of potential as a coach. What kind of potential do you see in the players that you work with here in Taiwan?
Unlimited. We're all unlimited potential, honestly. And what I do believe in that statement is the truth. We're all unlimited. But I think the potential NBA player is probably coming from a 10-year-old now, or maybe a 5-year-old. The generation is going to see this advancement, and I think we're getting there. So if you're looking at a projection as far as talent, I believe this next generation is going to get all this coaching and all of these role models that are coming now to Taiwan. They're seeing it in person. That's very valuable, right? We're not guessing anymore. They're not some people on a screen. These are real people, and I can actually give them real stories as well. And I think that's going to be the big change. And I know it may happen on the women's side first. The women are very advanced here. They have really high skill sets, yes. But there's certain ways that they're training that may be a little harder on them. Then we need to try to communicate and teach these coaches and organizations a little bit more of what we're doing with sports science and in the NBA with load management.
Because you've been working with so many Taiwanese basketball players, what's the state of Taiwan's professional basketball scene right now?
So to me, the state is high as far as competition, and they're putting in the investments into the players and the talent. I'm also noticing the infrastructure. They're investing in their performance facilities. They're having multiple strength coaches and physical therapists. They're reaching out to guys like me and finding out how they can be involved and what they can learn. They want to bring them and give them more experiences abroad, which is more about broadening the horizons than it is the technical and the tactical skill sets. It's just giving them a broader horizon, and maybe there's little holes in each individual that they're missing. Could be culturally, or it might be individual, that we can hopefully give them and allow them to feel.
Let's zoom out and take a look at Taiwan's basketball scene as a whole really quickly. Can you tell me what direction Taiwan's basketball scene is headed 5 years from now? Where do you see that right now?
I would love to see the leagues merge, first and foremost. I think that has been a sticky point for me as I'm communicating with all my guys, all the different teams I've been fortunate to meet with. I would love to see that happen. I think that'd be a lot clearer for the consumers as well as internationally. I think pulling apart these leagues is going to be the first part. We need to connect the leagues. That's going to be a big step. Once that is empowered, I think building a developmental league is going to be a big part as well. Not just relying on the college basketball scene, because in my experience, what I'm learning is some of our best college players in Taiwan are getting pulled to CBA and they're not staying home right away. So there may be more opportunities if we can create developmental leagues that we're missing some talent because they're not being developed. We're missing the gaps. We may not know that local kid somewhere out in the mountains. He's not getting the resources. So can we find and create pro developmental leagues maybe? That might be my next step and some of my advice for the ownership.
When you divide the talent up like that, is it detrimental to the development of the players? Are we giving too many resources and stretching it too thin with, so many leagues around?
Yeah, ideally you're going to want to have a system where you're catching the most amount of talent possible at the earliest stages in their development. And so maybe with all this competition in leagues, they're not communicating with each other. Maybe they're stashing players on the bench and hiding guys out. Who knows what competitive instincts could bring out when you're competing not only with other teams, but other leagues in a small environment with limited talent pool, right? So that could be capping the development at a certain level because we're our own worst enemy in that situation.
Do you think Taiwan has the capacity to host guest NBA games like when the NFL goes to Europe?
I mean, I definitely think so. It's a far flight, but I think the West Coast would be more, a bigger option for it. And I think it's going to come regardless. I know the NBA really is global at this point. And Taiwan basketball is on the map. Literally all summer, I've had a few NBA players say, I want to own a team in Taiwan. Point blank. So it's really interesting to see. And the NBA knows something here. And there's a large market. Let's be honest, there's a huge population here. They want eyeballs. They want views. It's business at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's business.
Heading back in, what's there to be said about big names in basketball coming to Taiwan? Dwight Howard and your good buddy, Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see the opportunity that these pro teams can provide athletes who are still wanting to play basketball at a high level. To me, it's amazing that these guys go in the NBA and are still searching and pushing maybe even to get back, or they're excited just to finish their careers somewhere comfortable and professional. Having Dwight here, I think, brought a lot of notoriety off the jump. Obviously, Jeremy is a great ambassador throughout life. I mean, I don't think there could be a better, more classy individual than Jeremy Lin. I was fortunate to know him before Linsanity, and I've known him after, and he's been the same guy. And that's really hard to say for most people. So I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of our relationship. And it's one of those relationships, and this is life in general, where you may come and go, but it's amazing how our two stories have intertwined. It is.
Man, Mike, you've been so good to talk to. Just a question for you, just because I'd love to see you come back again. What are the odds you're coming back here?
Oh, I'm coming back. My whole goal is I want to train and coach the coach who coaches the first NBA player. I don't need to coach the first NBA player to come from Taiwan, but my goal is to help this whole culture and create the coach that's going to uplift the culture together.
Mike, speaking with you has been so insightful and you're so comprehensive. And I've learned a lot, not just about basketball, but just about having a positive attitude and what that can do for, your future development. Thank you so much for taking our questions. That's all I got.
My pleasure. It's been an honor, for real. Thank you.
That was Mike Atkinson, a world-class NBA trainer. And this has been Zoom In, Zoom Out. For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, don't forget to follow TaiwanPlus News on social media. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. We bring you stories from Taiwan.
Every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you. News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? Weekdays on TaiwanPlus.